Turkey's role in defending Palestine is a subject that has drawn attention for decades, but in recent years it has become even more prominent as Ankara has positioned itself as one of the loudest voices in the Muslim world advocating for Palestinian rights. When analyzing Turkey's stance, its political actions, its diplomatic strategies, its military posturing, and its cultural outreach, we see a multidimensional effort that reflects both its ambitions as a regional power and its historical sense of responsibility as the successor to the Ottoman Empire, which once governed the lands of Palestine. To understand the role Turkey plays in this context, one needs to evaluate the features of its foreign policy, the performance of its military and humanitarian strategies, the design of its global outreach, and the unique selling points that distinguish Ankara from other actors in the Muslim world. At the heart of Turkey's positioning is political leadership. President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan has become one of the most vocal critics of Israeli policies, often using powerful rhetoric in international forums such as the United Nations and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. This rhetorical approach may appear symbolic on the surface, but its impact resonates deeply within public opinion across the Muslim world. Unlike many governments that choose a quieter, behind-the-scenes approach, Turkey has made confrontation a visible part of its design. By framing the Palestinian issue not just as a territorial dispute, but as a moral struggle, Erdoğan and Turkish officials have ensured that Palestine remains a central theme in their foreign policy identity. This identity is critical because it shapes how Turkey performs on the diplomatic stage and how it appeals to millions of Muslims who view Palestine as an issue of collective honor. Turkey's diplomatic performance can be measured by its attempts to build international coalitions, particularly among Muslim-majority countries. Ankara has consistently lobbied for joint Islamic action on Palestine, and while achieving complete unity has often proven difficult, Turkey's persistence demonstrates a long-term commitment. For example, Turkey has frequently hosted emergency meetings of the OIC following escalations in Gaza or Jerusalem. These moves, while not always translating into concrete joint action, serve as reminders that Turkey is willing to invest its political capital in keeping Palestine at the center of the Muslim agenda. This diplomatic consistency sets Turkey apart from countries that may speak out sporadically but lack sustained involvement. On the military front, Turkey's capabilities are often analyzed in terms of both real power and symbolic deterrence. The Turkish military is among the most powerful in NATO, boasting advanced drone technology, modern air defenses, and a sizable standing army. While Turkey has not engaged Israel militarily, the existence of such a force in the background adds weight to its statements. Furthermore, Turkey's development of indigenous defense systems, such as the Bayraktar TB2 drones, has not only bolstered its national power, but also created the perception of a capable actor that could shift balances in the Middle East if it chose to. Even though Ankara has not deployed its military in defense of Palestine, the potential remains part of its unique selling point: the ability to influence regional security dynamics by mere implication of support. Turkey also performs strongly in humanitarian aid and development assistance, which are concrete features of its defense of Palestine. Through organizations like the Turkish Cooperation and Coordination Agency, TICA, and the Turkish Red Crescent, Ankara has provided extensive aid to Palestinians, including in Gaza, where infrastructure has been devastated by repeated conflicts. Turkish hospitals have treated Palestinian patients, and Ankara has sent ships carrying medical supplies and food during times of crisis. This practical support, beyond the political speeches, adds a dimension of credibility to Turkey's role. Many countries make statements, but Turkey complements words with direct humanitarian action. This blend of rhetoric and relief forms a design that is more holistic, covering both symbolic leadership and tangible assistance. In addition to humanitarian aid, Turkey invests in cultural diplomacy to strengthen its role. Turkish television dramas, popular across the Arab world, often portray themes of justice, resistance, and Ottoman history that subtly reinforce narratives of Turkish solidarity with Palestine. Moreover, Turkey maintains active religious diplomacy, emphasizing the sanctity of Jerusalem and its significance to Muslims worldwide. This focus on cultural and religious identity appeals to broad audiences, making Turkey's role relatable even to individuals not deeply engaged with politics. The design here is to connect with emotions, values, and historical memory, and this makes Turkey's defense of Palestine not just a political act, but a cultural mission. Economically, Turkey has also positioned itself as a partner for Palestinians. Trade agreements, investment projects, and promises of reconstruction aid in Gaza underline Turkey's efforts to help Palestinians achieve a measure of stability. Although political realities and blockades often limit how much these economic promises can materialize, the intent is significant because it signals that Turkey is thinking long-term, not only about immediate crises. This future-oriented economic engagement contrasts with the short-term reactive approaches often seen elsewhere. A unique selling point of Turkey's role is its dual positioning between the West and the Muslim world. As a NATO member and a country historically seeking integration with the European Union, Turkey carries influence in Western institutions that many Muslim nations do not. When Turkey speaks about Palestine, it is not merely addressing Muslim audiences, but also challenging Western governments, which are typically aligned with Israel. This dual positioning enables Turkey to amplify the Palestinian cause in arenas where other Muslim-majority countries might struggle to gain attention. The Istanbul-based calls for justice thus resonate both in Middle Eastern capitals and in European policy circles. Performance-wise, Turkey's approach is not without challenges. Critics argue that despite strong rhetoric, Turkey's actual capacity to alter the situation on the ground in Palestine remains limited. While speeches and symbolic gestures win admiration, they do not necessarily change the reality of occupation or blockade. Some also point to the continuation of trade between Turkey and Israel as evidence of inconsistency in Ankara's policies. Yet, even these criticisms highlight an important point. Turkey's role is complex, balancing between principle and pragmatism. This complexity itself is part of its design, as Ankara seeks to maintain leverage without isolating itself diplomatically or economically. The Turkish public also plays a role in shaping this policy. Within Turkey, support for Palestine is widespread across political and social lines, making it one of the few issues where there is national consensus. This public backing ensures that any Turkish government, regardless of leadership, is under pressure to maintain solidarity with Palestinians. As a result, Turkey's stance has a degree of sustainability that transcends individual leaders. This feature adds depth to Turkey's commitment, distinguishing it from policies driven solely by the charisma or ideology of a single figure. Another dimension to highlight is Turkey's historical identity. The Ottoman Empire governed Jerusalem, Gaza, and the wider Levant for centuries, and this legacy is often invoked in Turkish political discourse. By positioning itself as a historical guardian of these lands, Turkey taps into a reservoir of legitimacy that appeals to many Muslims who see Ottoman history as a period of relative protection for Islamic holy sites. This historical narrative becomes part of the branding of Turkey's modern foreign policy, giving it a unique resonance that no other state can replicate in quite the same way. Turkey's communication strategy is another crucial design element. Turkish media frequently highlights Palestinian struggles, and state officials use platforms like Twitter, television, and international conferences to keep attention on Gaza and Jerusalem. This constant messaging ensures that the issue does not fade into obscurity during quieter periods, maintaining momentum for global awareness. By controlling the narrative and amplifying Palestinian voices, Turkey performs a role of information defender, countering narratives that downplay Palestinian suffering. Looking at the regional picture, Turkey's role sometimes puts it at odds with other major players. Its strong stance contrasts with the more cautious approaches of Gulf states that have normalized relations with Israel in recent years. This contrast becomes another unique selling point. Turkey is often seen as the uncompromising voice when others are seen as compromising. Whether one agrees with Ankara's tactics or not, the differentiation strengthens its brand as the defender of Palestine. Turkey also integrates the Palestinian cause into its broader geopolitical strategies. For instance, in negotiations with Western allies, Ankara often links its positions on Middle Eastern conflicts, including Palestine, to wider discussions about NATO responsibilities, energy security, or refugee issues. By doing this, Turkey ensures that Palestine is never treated as an isolated issue but as part of the larger regional equation. This integration enhances Turkey's bargaining power and ensures that Palestinian concerns remain relevant in broader geopolitical discussions. In performance terms, Turkey's persistence over decades is significant. While leadership, governments, and global contexts have changed, Ankara's fundamental defense of Palestine has remained a consistent policy feature. This long-term consistency provides reliability, making Turkey a predictable ally for Palestinians in a world where alliances often shift. The combination of consistency, visibility, and multidimensional engagement creates a comprehensive role that few other nations can match. In sum, Turkey's role in defending Palestine is not confined to one dimension. It spans political leadership, military posture, humanitarian relief, cultural outreach, economic engagement, historical identity, and global diplomacy. Each element contributes to a larger design that emphasizes both principle and pragmatism. The unique selling points of Turkey's stance include its ability to combine rhetoric with tangible aid, its dual position between the Muslim world and the West, its invocation of Ottoman history, and its consistency in maintaining Palestine as a central issue in its foreign policy narrative. This layered approach ensures that Turkey remains one of the most influential actors in the defense of Palestine, shaping perceptions, policies, and public opinion, not only in the Muslim world, but far beyond,